Hopefully you don't get demonetized for this.
We're live. Josh and I thought we'd sing a theme tune and chose one where I'm sure you have to pay major royalties. So Josh is going to pay the bill for that one. Welcome everyone to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. It's game day almost, thank goodness. Gosh, we need some football, don't we, in our lives right now? It's a real good distraction. Here we go. Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad. That's right, Taib. Let's sing a song. Football is back this weekend. The Arsenal play on Sunday. Thank the Lord. And also back is our tactical squad guru himself, Mr. Josh. Welcome back to the show, Josh.
Thank you very much. Yeah, back the first time we're at 10,000 as well.
Yes.
First time since it's been on since that was announced. What a great milestone that is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, it really happened since you joined. I mean,
I don't want to take all of the credit, but I certainly will take every bit of undeserved credit that's coming my way.
Well, no, thank you very much. And we do have a great audience and an audience that loves you. Sometimes they love you. Sometimes you rub them up the wrong way. Welcome to the club.
Less about who I rub in what direction, but yeah.
Oi, oi.
It's good to be back with the squaddies, and for Super Kev, give them the old salute.
Well done, Josh. Well done. Showing your class there and your manners. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Matt. It's one of those dark days in Southern California, so it's an excuse to throw on the flannel and the beanie that you think is a good idea, and then 2 minutes into the show you realise, bloody hell, I'm hot already. So tactical, the club has 11 players. Oh boy, here we go. It's going to be another. Do you remember when you thought? What was the last game we did with James? And it was kind of, it wasn't not Burnley.
It was Wolves, wasn't it?
It was Wolves because we'd done it.
Yeah.
We played them twice in a week and we were thinking, God, how can we make this not boring?
Yeah.
So today it won't be as boring. Plus, Josh, how was your visit to the Lisbon Zoo?
Oh, what can I say? Yeah, I didn't actually end up going, but I thought as soon as I landed, I walked through. My partner was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm just doing something. I'm just going to send it to Sophie because it's just perfectly going to just poke an audience, and it would certainly cheer you up just seeing that kind of message in there." Just as soon as I land, there's the zoo. They knew their target audience. Let's put it that way.
I did share it on the show, and it was quite epic and fantastic. I loved it. Super Kev laughed his ass off. Super Kev is at Everton. He is covering the game for TalkSport this evening. So we do have a video, however, that we're going to kickstart the show with. But before I do that, I wanted everyone's take. And Craig just made a post about it. Now, he didn't get a tan. Is it that warm in Portugal now?
It was 20 degrees. It was 20 degrees. I'll put it this way. You could tell who the English guy was there because he was the only one wearing shorts. And it was 20 degrees in February in Portugal. Everyone else is wearing trousers because it's February. Not the Brit.
Not you.
You could see everybody who'd come from Central Europe. Everyone else who's, somewhere like Munich might be seeing that kind of climate occasionally. Central Europe.
Yeah.
They'll get the 20 degrees in February. Not us up in old England. No.
Now, did you wear flip-flops with that, or did you wear trainers?
Oh, I was Converses. That's it.
Okay,
I'm a simple man with simple pleasures, and yes, Converses was all I went with. Not a flip-flop man.
Can I share what one of my pet peeves is?
Oh. Yes, you can.
When men who wear flip-flops, but mostly with jeans.
Oh,
I do not like.
That's a look, isn't it? No, I've got one chronic issue is being ginger. So imagine how pale I am for things that normally get the light of day every day of the week. Now imagine my feet that are size 10 in flip-flops. Just saying, they're pretty white. They're pretty reflective. It's pretty crazy. I could do some serious upskirting with those feet.
Listen, last time we gave them the wind, James's hair, the zoo. We went through the whole gamut. This week we start the show off with flip-flops. I just can't be doing that. Everyone's eating their digestives and biscuits. Demsek's finished a cuppa with his burger and chips. Okay, here's another thing. I cannot. Here we go. How about another pet peeve, Josh, before we really get stuck in? People who drink tea with their burger and chips or fish and chips. Never been able to do it.
No, I think it's got to be a cold drink. I don't know. I say that as somebody who as you say, my lunch, that generally seems to be quite cold. You know, it's like a sandwich. If it's cold, then the opposite. You have a hot drink with it. But I'm not on board with that either, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't. I've never been able to do it because the food's warm, and then you need a little. It's either going to be like a little, refresher, little beer, or a half a lager shandy, which I like.
You've been hanging around judges too much.
Get the old finger up. Very important question from Suraj. Does Josh still want to sell Thomas Partey?
I mean, his value's gone up. He was excellent against Wolves. Isn't it the perfect time to sell? Sell at the peak. Wait for the drop. Don't sell in the dip. That's what I hear from all the kids. No, not this week. I am not selling Thomas Partey this week.
All right. I love it. I love it. Condensed milk tea with samosas. Oh, gosh. Wow. The old crowd back in the day, condensed milk, just hit that can, right out the can. People love that. Let's see. You need a counterbalance with a hot burger. Totally. I mean, really, when you have a burger, it's got to be a Coke. And I don't drink Coke. I gave up Coke years and years ago. But every now and again, if you have a Coke and a burger, my gosh. Mark is claiming his wife is a strange girl. Hopefully she's not listening to the show.
No. It says more about Mark then if you married her.
A cuppa with fish and chips is essential when you're up north on the coast in January. I could see that. I can see that juxtaposition.
Maybe with the Bovril. Chip your chips in the Bovril.
Yeah.
You're doing it.
Well, listen, this is 7 minutes of pure added value content right here. I mean, we're giving it big time. Josh, I want to get your take and the squaddies' take. Good evening to all 100 of you in live chat. Some of you watching the football, those listening on replay. Be sure to let us hear your comments in the section below. Josh, the UEFA confirm a new Champions League format that's going to kick in 2045 for the 2024-25 season. Now, I'm not sure people can take any more news about how brands are making more money at the moment, to be quite honest with you. But here it is, Josh, right? I'll read it up to you. Currently, the format is 32 teams. It's going to go up to 36 teams. I'm wondering, is this the prelude for the kick-in for another Super League push? Group stages are replaced by one big league table. Each team plays 10 games in the first phase, 5 home, 5 away. 100 additional games will be played. The top 8 sides in the league phase will qualify automatically for the knockout stage. Teams finishing 9th to 24th place will compete in a 2-legged playoff to secure their path to the last 16. Josh, a little bit like the increase in World Cup, I think you start diluting the product. I think they've been diluting the Champions League for a long time now. A lot of fans have checked out of those early, some of those early kind of, group stage games. What's your take on all of this?
Yeah, I think it depends on where I'm not opposed to an additional 4 teams coming in. I imagine it depends where those 4 teams are coming from.
That hasn't been stated in this piece that I've read.
Yeah, so that's the thing that I'd be interested in. Is it, we're getting another team from the Premier League, another team from Italy, another team from Germany, and another team from Spain? Or is it something more interesting? Is it Ajax? They're not going to have to qualify anymore. They're going to go straight in. Or is it going to be something, I like to see variety in there. That's one of the reasons I quite like just being in the Europa League. Not necessarily for the revenue and all of that bits and pieces, but to be honest, I'm not looking at the accounts. I'm not that worried about how much money we get from Champions League. What I enjoyed seeing was the variety of teams that we played. It wasn't the same lot. It wasn't us getting battered 10-2 by Bayern Munich every year. but it was just a bit more interesting in the matchup. So I like the variety of bringing in additional teams. And yeah, I can see it's kind of a UEFA trying to push back against Super League, and with the Super League then kind of cutting UEFA out of any revenue share, probably to help them out a bit. In terms of the format, we've had a group stage, a big table Champions League before, possibly before my time. Remember watching European football?
Aye, easy,
yeah.
cheesy.
Oh,
I mean, I missed that. That was so much more exciting back then. The knockout. And don't get me wrong, when the Champions League first came out and it was condensed, someone just put in chat, how can it be the Champions League when 2/3 of the teams playing are not champions?
I imagine what you'd then do is people would then say it's like a Mickey Mouse Cup, like the Club World Cup, which you can only get into if you're a champion of champions, and the same with the Community Shield. You can only get into that if you're a champion of champions, either through cup or through league. So I think whichever way someone wants to split it, they're always going to find a problem with it, because they'll go, oh, why have you got, and pick a team in a smaller league, so champions of Romania in the Champions League, when you could just get City and Liverpool. You could have one of those instead. Someone's always going to moan about the product that's produced. I think that's one of the issues. I think it'll be interesting to see how it's grouped up. Obviously, if Arsenal are in a position to be qualifying at that point, it'd be interesting to see the increase in revenue. I wonder what would happen with Europa League as well, because you could see that could make a lot of domestic leagues split even more, because if you're getting additional television revenue for the top 4 teams that are in the Champions League, then it's going to get that gap bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's going to be a real shame if maybe your sugar daddy, who's been running your club and been taking on all of that debt for coming up 15 years or so, has suddenly had to remove all of his money and cut all of his ties, and can no longer pump money into a club to ensure they're always in the Champions League. I think I'd hate to be in that position right now with this coming in.
Yeah, it's just it just seems another opportunity to get more sponsorship and advertising and TV dollars. Of course, the world, as we have seen and continue to see, is circulated, run, lived by the pound, the dollar, the cent. And unfortunately, we're going to be asking fans to do a little bit more again. And someone posted too about player welfare, Josh, real quick, and then we'll start jumping into the Arsenal versus Watford. More games, more. And correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't the likes of Pep and Jurgen Klopp and Antonio Conte moaning about player welfare and players having to play more games? It's kind of such hypocrisy all the way around, isn't it, really?
Definitely. I think one of the things that may fall out of this would be something like the League Cup, because that's fundamentally, you're going to have to try and find the games in the calendar somewhere. And I imagine all the Champions League fixtures, like they are right now, they're all going to be pushed into or crammed into the first half of the season. And then we have the FA Cup in the second half. So I think that's obviously going to cause some problems for teams and for the calendar generally. And yeah, I get the thing with player welfare as well. I'm just wondering in kind of the sense of travel times. I remember a lot of when players end up going over to MLS and then getting shocked, and they're thinking, oh, they didn't realize that they've got to travel 6 hours for a league game in the air. And I think
change time zones like twice.
Time zones, absolutely. And it's getting close to that. I think it's always about how far is your horizons. And I think there's always going to be in Europe where you think, oh, a 3-hour flight, that's quite far away. It's going to be difficult. But, you guys in the US, you're like, a 3-hour flight, that's nothing. A 12-hour drive upstate, yeah, that's fine.
We got this.
Exactly. You're not bothered by it. But obviously in Europe, we're a bit more conservative about those kind of long journeys. And as football becomes a more global game, I've been looking at our chat box. How many people in our chat box are based in North London, where Arsenal are, we're much bigger than that small pocket.
Absolutely.
Area of North London, and there's opportunities now. We've got a lot of listeners at ABW who are based in Bulgaria. Now, wouldn't it be great if you end up going into somewhere like, and now I've got to get my geography right, Sofia,
yeah.
Sofia, capital of Bulgaria.
It's named after me.
Oh, of course, of course. I could have helped myself out, couldn't I? I'd said that we had someone based in Paris, but no, I went Bulgaria.
You went for Bulgaria.
I went straight in. I went to show off my pub quiz knowledge of capital cities of the middle of Europe.
I used to be really good at capital cities. I was like Monica Geller. I know.
That's the kind of thing that there's going to be opportunities for fans who don't necessarily have the opportunity to get there, and if they make the tickets accessible for Arsenal fans to get to those games, it's going to annoy a couple of people who can't necessarily get to the games, who pride themselves on being able to make every Arsenal fixture every season, but something's got to give, I think, at that point.
Yeah. Stephen, I think after the last League Cup final, they made a point. The two teams definitely, Liverpool and Chelsea, made a huge case for the fact that is a still special competition. And when you get that type of game, it's, I don't see the League Cup going away. Jurgen Klopp can moan about it all he likes. Matty Kay's talking about the great opportunity for football to have a reset. The reset seems to be making more money versus, doing less and having more quality. As much as I love the World Cup, I find that the more teams you add, like I said, it just feels like you get less quality games at the beginning of the competition. Just think Formula One drivers have to travel around the world and only get 2-3 month break. Yeah. But they're also traveling in private jets and they have everyone around them doing all the work. But they are some of the fittest athletes around. The amount of weight they lose in a race is incredible. Let's see. Cliff says, hello, kettle's boiled, get the biscuits on. Right, you haven't missed anything. Let's get stuck into it. We were waiting for you, Cliff. I mean, we talked a little bit about biscuits and the zoo again and, other bits and bobs, pet peeves of flip-flops and, having hot drinks with fish and chips. That's basically what you've missed.
We've basically said tea with gazpacho only. That's the only thing you're allowed to do.
Exactly. All right, we're going to kickstart before we show you Josh's squad to face Watford. As per usual, when Kev isn't here, we're going to start with his video, which will lead Josh into breaking down his tactics. Right, Josh, you paying attention?
I hope so.
All right, here we go.
Sophie, Josh, squaddies, I hope you're well. Josh, I've got a question for you, and it's a two-part question. Part one. Nicola Pepe really made a difference coming on in our last game against Wolves. Does he start this game? And if he does, who gets dropped? Question two. The system changed when Eddie and Pepe come on. Or Pepe and Eddie, whichever, vice versa. Do we change the system? So, that's just for you, Josh. You better get it right, or you know where you're going. Back to the zoo. Look after yourself, everybody. Take good care. Squaddies, love ya. Have a good show.
I do love how the zoo's become a running theme here on the show. You really did it to yourself.
I am very happy to self-deprecate myself on that. And I will take it. I'm very happy with that to be part of it.
All right, let's get stuck into it, Josh.
Absolutely.
I know what your answer is on the Pepe thing because I've seen your team sheet. Right, let's talk the gang through it.
Yeah, so there's not much that has changed. The only real changes would be Tavares comes in for KT. and Martinelli, was. I think this is how long Wolves was. He started because Smith Rowe had COVID.
He had COVID.
He
Yeah.
had COVID, so it was Martinelli in there anyway. So yeah, it's Tavares coming in. I'm keeping Partey. It's fine. Don't worry. He's not sold this week. Transfer window's closed. That's the main thing that stopped me from doing it. But no, I've not brought Nicola Pepe in. I thought Pepe did have a great performance off the bench in terms of came on, got a goal and an assist. It's the things that I have called out for him to do. We didn't buy a striker in January, and to be honest, I didn't think we needed to because I knew Pepe always turns up after spring, or when spring comes, so does Pepe. And you know, he hadn't scored through the entire term of his partner's pregnancy in the league, and as soon as she gave birth, literally hours afterwards, he scores and gets an assist. So that's the main thing for me with Pepe. It's a bit like looking back at when we had Smith Rowe and the great form he was showing. You know, every time he came off the bench, he was scoring a goal. I think I went for 4 games in a row where he did that. So I keep it exactly the same again. I'm expecting Watford to be very regimented, very organised, especially with the Roy Hodgson team. If anyone had the misfortune of watching the United game,
that was rough. It was great for us. It was a terrible game to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a rough ride. And again, that's what Pepe, bring him on when they're tired. It's an opportunity then here for him to go and again have that kind of shot that we know he's got, that curler. We've seen him do it against Brighton twice. I've seen him do it against Brighton, and he's got that in his locker. That's the thing that I'd like to see from Pepe again. Show that consistency off the bench, and then you can start showing the consistency on the pitch in the starting 11. Yeah.
I agree with you on the Pepe thing. A lot of the squaddies and folks in chat, good evening to all 220 of you, agree with you about Pepe. Some, like Paul, say that Saka needs a rest. Some say competition as well for Saka. I think at this point, if Saka is free and available, he plays. But the one that's got everyone shook here, Mr. Josh, is you have Nuno in for Tierney, and I'm assuming that's because you're starting Martinelli, and the Tierney ESR relationship down the left is more suitable to those players. What's your take? You explain to the squaddies why you've gone for Nuno in this one.
Yeah, it's not that I also spent a week in his hometown as well last week. He's from Benfica, and yeah, I was obviously in Lisbon. But no, I don't think KT's been in great form for us. He also went off injured. I think Arteta's doing his team news tomorrow, so I've gone with the assumption that KT isn't fit. And I think if the squaddies have seen enough of me and if they know the zoo joke, they know that I love Tavares as well. And I think that's the big thing. I just like him as a player. I think he is a more dynamic left back for us. I don't necessarily see KT as our captain. And no, I'm not trying to sell him. He's perfectly adequate backup for Nuno. That's I don't want us to go out to look for another left back. But yeah, ESR's only just back from COVID, so just on that point, I don't think we have him in there. And in terms of rests for the players, it was a week ago since we played Wolves. Do they need a bit more of a rest than that? I mean, if we get into Champions League and we're in Champions League in 2024, who knows? We're probably playing a game every 48 hours. But yeah, we're going to be playing a game every 3 to 4 days, depending on how the week lies for us when we get into Europe. So these players have got to be able to deal with that. And I think, whilst we don't have... whilst I don't think KT's definitely in there. Sorry, go for it.
I agree with a lot of people in chat and you. I mean, look, this whole thing about resting and stuff. I know Kev and I talk about consistency in playing, right? Match fitness. especially when you have a game like Wolves and then we've got to wait so long to play again. I mean, it's our own damn fault. We got kicked out of the FA Cup. Otherwise, we would have been playing this week, but we're not. So for me, Saka has to start. He has to play. He's one of our best players. There's no rest for the wicked at the moment at all. And I also think that there's no excuses at this point about fatigue and stuff. There are teams above us who've played a lot more games than us, Josh. The one area I did want to look at too, and I understand you've got Emile Smith-Rowe on the bench, you've got Martinelli starting. It makes sense after he's had COVID. We don't know how well he's recovered. I mean, this is an illness that affects, the respiratory system. He's an athlete. He's in supreme condition, we're sure. But he's also the top scorer at the club right now, and he scored more goals in the Premier League than Lukaku has. I always like to get that dig in. It's my one good stat of the year. So again, Emile Smith-Rowe has proven to be an impact player off the bench. Now, he's a Hayland boy, so you could say that's good value. You've got a £72 million player who's become an impact player off the bench. I say that Pepe could have a real say in the rest of our season, actually. So with that said, and with the fact that, yes, we're scoring goals, but we're not back to our prolific December form yet, you're happy to stick with that because, Martinelli's blown hot and cold lately too, is he not?
Yeah, I think he has blown hot and cold, but I think it is that kind of, who else would I want to bring in right now over Martinelli? Do I want to bring Pepe in necessarily? Well, we've seen that Arteta doesn't necessarily like playing a lot of players with the same foot, so left-footed players all the way across the line. Doesn't necessarily work that well for us. So I wouldn't necessarily look to have him coming straight in. And I think Martinelli, that work rate you get, Watford, they do like to, I say they do like to attack. They used to like to attack when they had Ranieri as their manager, but there's still some work rate that I'd want from Martinelli. And if he gives it for 60 minutes because Smith-Rowe's only got half an hour in his legs, that's fine. I think it's more than just that. And as you were kind of saying about resting players, but also maintaining match fitness. I also want to maintain the match fitness of the players off the bench as well, because we saw that earlier in the season when we suddenly ended up with a load of injuries. We brought in a load of cold players, and then we're like, oh great, these guys are all a bit rusty. I think that's where you look at someone like bringing Sambi in off the bench as well.
And Sambi did play in midfield in the 1-0 win in November. I'll get to that game in just a second. I wanted to read Jean René's out. And by the way, Josh, before we get to this is going to be a much more physical game than Wolves. I mean, I'm not saying Wolves aren't. Every Premier League has physicality and they're a physical team. But the way Roy Hodgson sets his team up, I believe, I'm not saying they're going to perform the dark arts, but I think it's just going to be a bit more of a physical game for us.
Yeah, they're not going to be as progressive as the team we saw in November, the one under Ranieri. To be honest, I would say them sacking Ranieri and appointing Roy Hodgson is what will get them relegated. Because although Roy makes you stop it, may prevent you from conceding, he doesn't bring you goals. And to be honest, we know goals win football matches. And if you've got to get out of a relegation zone, what are you going to rather? You're going to be scraping 0-0s and 1-0s, or do you want to be going for the 2-1s and the 3-1s that we've seen? I don't think you see like the comeback against Everton. I can say that because Kev's not here and he won't get sad. But it's games like that. You would never see that under Roy Hodgson. You'll get a 0-0 out of that rather than 3 points. And I think that's what they need to be driving towards.
Interesting. So what do you think about the KT Martinelli partnership maybe being a misconception? KT's instructed to play deeper because of Martinelli's style. I think Jean-René Brink brings up a decent point there. Do you think fans are reading too much into that, Josh?
I think there's definitely a slight difference in the way when KT and Martinelli are together. I think it's not necessarily that KT's playing deeper. It's that Martinelli's quicker on the ball in terms of he makes a decision and he will drive. He'll be more direct. He doesn't let KT have that time to go and overlap him because he's gone, fuck it, I'm going for goal. Going for goal. There's an opportunity here. I'm going to run at that fullback. I'm not going to wait to try and double up on him. I back myself a bit more. You see it from Saka now with Tomiyasu as well. So that Saka occasionally has now looked and gone, I'm going to go infield. I'm not going to wait for somebody to come up round and slow the play down. We've seen that more directness come in. And I think that's the difference that we really see, is that Katie doesn't always have the opportunities to get around him, whereas Smith Rowe isn't as likely to drive at defenders and try and bring the ball through, especially if it's a tight line. And, when the back four's in place and they've got the two holding midfielders there, Smith Rowe is going to be a bit more conservative and probably wait for the fullback to come round and then whip across in. Whereas Martinelli will look at that and see it as a challenge. And he's going to go, right, I'm going to go straight through the eye of the needle. And I think that's the big thing for it, is that's the difference between those two players.
Yeah, and I agree with, who was it who just, I lost it there, 777. He's going to park the bus. There's no doubt about it. And, I think also Paul says KT playing with ESR provides better balance in the team than KT and Martinelli. So I don't know. I think there's Virginia said earlier too that she felt she didn't seem too bugged by you choosing Nuno. She feels that KT's been off form lately. Do you think that's fair about KT?
I think it's difficult because I think he's one of the few players that's regressed under Arteta. That may be down to the fact that we're playing differently. And maybe that our strikers just aren't necessarily as keen to get in the box. When you've got Lacazette there, and that's the big thing. We don't have an aerial presence. If we'd signed Weghorst, I think KT would have a hatful of assists already now. We're not seeing that same player that we saw get all of those assists under Emery and prove to be one of our key players. I think he's certainly still doing his job in terms of defensively. He's still that solid player, but he's not hit the heights that we've seen from him previously in an Arsenal shirt.
And a few people are talking in terms of tactically. Mo says he's doing his job quietly. Don't think his form has dropped. And then Olivier is saying that now Xhaka is playing a little bit of a different position and not coming back to cover as much when KT goes forward in that left back position with Martinelli wide. I think maybe that's why we're seeing a little bit of a difference as well, Josh.
I think it's also good for KT as well that he's not as kind of box to box as he was before, because we have seen that he does struggle with injuries as well. And if he's being asked to do less in terms of work rate, then that can only be good for him in terms of making sure that he's available for us consistently. And we're not having to rely on him. I think it's almost ironic that the one time we're now managing his fitness is the time when we've actually got decent backup for him, and not a couple of seasons ago when the other options was Kolasinac coming in.
Yes, well, let's all be grateful that that's not going to happen on this occasion. The last time we played them, Josh, let me throw some stuff out to you before we go through the rest of the team just a little bit, albeit predictable. I do have a couple more questions for you. We had 14 shots to their 7, 6 on target, 1 for them, 61% possession for us, 39 for them, 488 passes, 316 for them. Our accuracy on the passing was 83, there's 72. They committed, now this is why I say it's going to be much more of a physical game, 19 fouls, and 6 for us, 4 yellows for us, 2 for them, and of course they got the red card in that match. 3 offsides each, 4 corners for us, 2 for them. Our squad that day was Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, Ben White, Gabriel, Nuno, interestingly enough, Saka, Sambi, Maitland-Niles, Emile Smith-Rowe, Lacazette and Aubameyang. On the bench was Leno, Tierney, Odegaard, Holding, Cedric, Pepe, El Neni and Ketia Martinelli. The subs that did come on in that match were Odegaard, El Neni and Martinelli. Interesting that I'm trying to think. We played November. November, was that when Xhaka was still injured, right? And then he came back and he got the
Yeah, he was either suspended or
Red carded.
One of the two. It was one of the two. We then have to think about the game before. It was like, did he get sent off in that? But it was the one where, I think he was coming back from injury, and it was Maitland-Niles' I think final time to show that he couldn't play in midfield for Arsenal. I think that's what it was.
He was man of the match in that match. Wasn't that the game where he was man of the match?
But he's always man of the match in midfield against Championship opposition. That's the problem. He was man of the match against West Brom as well, playing in midfield. And where are they now? Mid-table in the Championship. I think that's the. I didn't come on here to mock Ainsley
Maitland-Niles. Yeah.
No. Yeah. I think that's when he then just disappeared, and it was before we decided that we played better without Aubameyang as well. That was then before the December glut of all the goals after.
That was just before a couple of weeks before Everton, wasn't it? Really,
yeah.
And and our goal. Who scored our goal? Emil Smith Rowe. Yeah. It was. So, and you have him on the bench. So that's fair, though, considering he's been sick. Yeah, for sure. Okay, 300 of you in live chat. As Tammy says, hit that like button. And if you love the Arsenal and if you enjoy a little bit of this biscuit talk that's completely going off in the chat box. My favourite, chocolate digestives, by the way. And I do love a shortbread. Can't beat a shortbread.
You had the ones with caramel in the middle as well. The chocolate digestives with a little bit of caramel.
Oh, I do love caramel. You know, they call it caramel here.
Oh.
And I've never been able to get my head around that. I'm like, it's caramel. Anything with caramel in it, like that milk tray box, anything with caramel in it. Yum, yum. Right, back to the football. Tomiyasu, are we starting to worry about his injury, Josh?
I'm less worried because Cedric isn't the bad Cedric, he's the good Cedric. Obviously, if Cedric was playing really badly, then obviously it's a lot more concerning that he's out. I think I said on the last show that I'm happy if we're managing his fitness, because I'd rather see Tomiyasu for the last 12 games of the season now than try and get him in. He plays 2 games this season and then he's out for the rest of it because we brought him back too quickly. We saw the same with Tierney last season, about this time as well, last year, where I remember when the fixture pile-up was horrific, and I think we ended up playing something stupid, like it wasn't 12 games in 3 weeks, but it was close to it. And because Tierney was injured for 3 weeks, we were like, oh God, we've lost him for so many games, when realistically his injury wasn't that long. I think we've got a bit of the opposite with Tomiyasu. I think we may not have necessarily managed him correctly when he came back from his first one, because obviously he came straight into the team, played a load of games, got injured. We then brought him back. And I think because of Cedric's form being better and fewer options for Arteta as well. I remember back when he was first out injured, we tried Ben White at right back. We tried Chambers at right back. We had... we probably put Maitland-Niles there once or twice.
Certainly have.
We definitely had many options that we ended up playing right back. But whilst Cedric is on form for us, it's less of a worry until he puts in that 3 out of 10 performance that we know he may be suspect to. Then I'm not wholly worried about Tomiyasu, but it would be nice to see him back soon. Hopefully, Arteta's got a update for us on Friday, but I think I saw somebody say yesterday that he may have been training, but not with the squad. So he is back.
Yeah, and I think most fans will agree that we are seeing good Cedric. Jorn says, I do think Cedric has been quite decent. I want to keep him as a backup to Tommy. I like the difference between them. It gives us more opportunities. I would say... he's 30 years old. He's one of the experienced players in the squad. And of course, he's played at high level, international level as well. And with a young squad, I think it's important to have somebody like him around. In terms of long term, is he the answer? I don't think so. And Tony's asking the question as well, do we keep Cedric and Xhaka next season as backup? Xhaka's not going to want to be a backup to anybody. He's going to want to play. And Mo says Tommy is a huge miss for us. Cedric has been good, but no telling for how long. And this is the part that concerns me, Josh, is, he's been good and he's been consistently good since he's been asked to come into the team, but how long can you rely on him? The same thing when, you know, El Neni might come or have to come into the team when he has. Yes, he's always consistent and he does good things, but how long can you rely on these kinds of players when there are injuries? This is where we really need to upgrade the squad. Same thing with Nketiah. God forbid something happens to, you know, Lacazette, who, even though people think doesn't score enough goals, you've seen what he brings to the team. Would you agree? These are the parts where if we're going to move on and move up, we've got to improve the overall squad.
Definitely. We definitely know that there is a requirement to improve our squad. I think last summer we needed to improve the starting 11, and we've done that. We brought in 5 players who really push on the door or are in the starting 11 for us. And yeah, coming into next season, especially, it depends on which competition we qualify for, depending on which kind of team's going to play. If it's Champions League, you know it's the first team's going to play that. If we end up in Europa League, then you know there's a chance that we'll probably play, you know, a weaker squad. But one way or another, this kind of second team are going to end up playing fixtures. They're either playing fixtures in the Europa League or they're going to be playing it in the Premier League. So at some point, we're going to need to upgrade that. And I think there is, especially people have highlighted a couple of players there. There's still a job to do in our midfield. I think Sambi's come in. I think he will be one of our backups for next season, taking on that kind of Xhaka role. I think we then bring in another central midfielder, as well as someone, especially if we then go to replace Granit Xhaka, someone else comes in to help out there. And then at right back, I get the point. I can't remember who said it now, in terms of happy for Cedric to stay. I think I'd still look.
I think Demsek said, did he say to stay or keep Xhaka and get rid of Cedric? Either way,
Either way, yeah. There was a couple of people that say happy to keep Cedric. I think it depends on who's available in the market. I think we were linked with the guy who, Spence, who was at Nottingham. He was on loan at Nottingham Forest, but is a Middlesbrough player. I wonder if us sending Balogun up there to help them with their promotion push may have been a little sweetener for us, just to go, hey, we helped you get promoted. Now sell us your right back that you didn't want this last season. Who knows? Maybe some conspiracies with that one. And
we do.
Same for what we've done with Watford. Yeah.
We do love a conspiracy theory here.
Definitely.
That's for sure.
I will join one with, if there's any Watford players you want, just remember that we sent a centre back over to one of their sister teams in January to help them out in Serie A. So
yeah, Spence. I mean, he's proven, but again, do we want to go? I don't know.
He's a proven right wing back at Championship level.
Yes.
Does that mean he's a right back at Premier League level? Let's put it this way.
Yes.
Shout to the squaddies. Would you get Tariq Lamptey and would you play him at right back for Arsenal? That's the question.
Over Tommy?
Not necessarily over Tommy, but would you get Tariq Lamptey and would you play him at right back at Arsenal?
Okay, let's see what they say.
Yeah.
Let's. It's going to be an interesting summer for us for sure. And yep, the team has lifted their game. There's no doubt about that. A few of the
environment. Sorry, yeah, I was going to say they're playing in a happy environment. You can see every time we've brought out players that have been, it's been leaked or it's been suggested they're disruptive behind the scenes. You can see a weight lift off the squad every time we've done that. We saw it last January when we got rid of the Bundesliga players. When Ozil left and
there's a bit more of this.
Yeah, there's a lot more unity within them, and I think the personalities we brought in obviously helped that as well. It wasn't just a case of getting rid of the bad eggs, but it was bringing good eggs in as well. There is now talk of Brighton's player of the season last year being Arsenal's player of the season this year.
We're just raiding your home club there, Josh, raiding it. Algerian Gooner, good evening. It's been a while since we've seen you. Great to hear from you. Hope all is well in your universe. Let's see. Lamptey is a bit overrated. He has pace. I'll give him that. Max Aaron says Elliot. Take Me Back says, I'm not convinced it would work. Why do you say that? I'm interested to know. Why? I mean, we've been linked with a lot of players, you guys. So yeah, go on.
So I go with Tariq Lamptey, maybe because I get to see him week in, week out. And the other thing is he's been lauded as a great right back, but he doesn't play right back. He plays right wing back, which was the reason why I picked him, was because he's an equivalent player playing at a higher level than Spence, but plays in the same position. And the question would be, do you want to bring in Lamptey, who's been lauded as a great right wing back, and play him right back?
Well,
and that's the same you'd be doing with Spence. You'd take Spence, who's doing a great job at right wing back, and then saying, do you want to go into a back four instead? Where he's got to be more defensively aware because he hasn't got the cover from a centre back anymore that he would in a back three behind him. So he's got to be a bit more about coming backwards as well as going forwards. And especially if we've got Nuno on the other side, we know Nuno doesn't necessarily... he's got the pace to get back. Does he necessarily always come back on time? Not always there. And I don't think you can have two flying on. Two flying wingers, especially in the league now.
And even though Nuno's adaptable to play on that right side, Ty Gunnosaurus has written it, and so have a few others. It's not his natural position. He's adaptable, and he's definitely got that kind of hybrid vibe about him. But I'm not sure we'd want Nuno as the option on the right. Olivier says no, Lamptey, but right wing back for options he would like. Kwabena says no, I wouldn't play Lamptey over Tommy. Suraj says no. Utabi says he's injury prone. Martin says Spence is very inconsistent. That's why Borough shifted him out to a rival. And Oisin says no, he can't play right back. And if we get Spence for less than 10 million, Mo would sign him. All right. Interesting responses there from the squad. Mark says, I don't want us to go back to playing wing backs, prefer 4-3-3. What's your take on what's your take on what you think, but what you think Arteta wants to do going forward consistently?
Amen, Mark, is what I was saying. Trust the process. It is 4-3-3. That's what he wants to play. We saw, and it's Kev's second question as well. Well, third question, but the one that he said was number 2, because he definitely asked 2 questions in question number 1. But anyway,
he always does.
The system changed when Eddie and Pepe came on, and it was a 3 at the back that we then saw. So I think there's always the opportunity. It's a bit like we saw under Wenger. You knew what he would start with, and then when he needs to, it's throw all the diminutive playmakers I've got in my back pocket on the field and hope something gets created and we score. It's the same we saw against Wolves as well. We knew as soon as they'd got their goal, they were going to sit back so we could push players, be more attacking there because they were there for the point. And I think there's always got to be some kind of adaptability in your system, but it just shows we've got a plan A. And guess what, squad is? We've got a plan B as well.
He kind of has had in the last... you can't argue with that the fact that he's had that in the last few games. And Virginia, completely agree with you, which is what we were saying, that we need upgrades because if we want to be consistently competitive in the Premier League, we've seen those players play. Someone was asking of what we would do with Bellerin, and I would say just try and get a Big Mac and fries for him. I mean, maybe a milkshake on the side as well.
Bellerin has looked... he's looked amazing since he's come to Spain. In terms
of course he
physically,
has.
Look at his look. He had the moustache going for a bit. You wondered what he's doing when he's moonlighting, of what maybe videos and extracurricular activities he's up to out in Spain. But I think he's loving life out at Betis.
Good for him, as long as he's happy.
Absolutely. I think I'm very happy for players who necessarily don't want to be at Arsenal being happy elsewhere, especially if they play well and we get a good fee for them as well. Definitely.
Speaking of that, because a lot of the squaddies are asking about it, of course, but Utabi, we're going to do a show with Josh on this, by the way, if Saliba comes back, because we could go long and deep into that one right now. He's just told you he likes the 4-3-3, so... let's save that, park that for another day, because we are going to get stuck into that a little bit later on this season as well, especially as we get more information in terms of what's going on. A player who has definitely departed the Arsenal is Mr. Guendouzi. Before I get you out on predictions and stuff, Josh, and any final thoughts on the game this weekend, everyone wants our opinion on this. I gave my opinion the other day. I said that a 9 million fee is just really bad business for a player who is playing in the French international side as well, that is so competitive. Absolute litany of, world-class players. He's signed a 3-year contract with Marseille. He's 22 years old. I think we've kind of given him away for nothing. You're welcome, Marseille. He's also had some parting shots, hasn't he? Once again about the Arsenal. And he just can't help himself. Let's face it, he's kind of a shithead. And I'm glad it's over. But did we get value for him? I don't think so. Josh, what say you?
I would say when we negotiated that deal at the beginning of the summer, he was a £9 million player. He wasn't the 25 or whatever £1 million or million euros player that we were there, that he is possibly now. I would bear in mind is the issues that Guendouzi had at Arsenal, he still has at Marseille. He is still positionally naive, but he is in a Jorge Sampaoli system where position doesn't really matter. You just play on vibes. There's not really a formation. It's a bit like, he's a disciple of, unfortunately, the man who has just left Leeds, Bielsa. Again, a man whose formations were a bit loose. So Guendouzi could get away with the fact that he wasn't always where he should be. And yeah, it looks like poor business right now, but I've also of the same opinion of he was a bad egg. I didn't want him coming back. I didn't want to struggle in trying to get rid of him. So I think it's a good bit of business that we got him out. And I think it's a good bit of business that we've actually got some money for a player that's been disruptive in our squad for once. Eddie's finally realised you can sell players. But Guendouzi was a player that I enjoyed seeing him play for us. But you could see that he was disruptive. He still had issues at Marseille, but Marseille is the right club for him. If you want to be a monumental dickhead, you go to Marseille because they are a team full of them.
Well, Salaba's not a dickhead, but the dude, what's his name? Payet. Yeah, there you go. That's who I was thinking of.
They've had Payet there. Yeah, there's always been a wrong-un at Marseille. And it's their vibe of their club. It's similar to Lazio. You've got to have a certain personality to play for certain teams.
It's like the Oakland Raiders, how I equate it to here. I completely agree with you. This is my beef, Tayyip, is what I was saying is I think he's a super talented player. I think that, in a year's time, Marseille could sell him for 30, 40 million. That's how talented he can be. But his attitude and his lack of maturity is what makes him a difficult player to have in your squad. Now, I was hoping that Arteta could find a way to manage him. But I think a punk's a punk, and some punks can't become, Yeah,
there's a reason why Ravel Morrison is a great example from the English player's point of view. Ferguson said he's the most talented youngster he's ever managed and ever coached. And look at the players that he's seen come through the academy at Man United. Coach Ronaldo, coach Wayne Rooney, huge, great players. And he said this guy was the best one. Where is he playing? He jumped between club and club and club. And you could see Guendouzi potentially has that as well. But yeah, there's some interesting deals out there as well that we've got with our loan players. I'm sure Mavropanos will be one that if Stuttgart stay up, then that looks like a bit of a naive deal.
Well, at 4 million. I mean, I mentioned Mavropanos the other day as well, and he's done really well there. And whether or not he had the quality to play for us at the level that we want to get to, I don't know. But a really good kid. Of course, and someone who's done exceptionally well at Stuttgart. And I think, he's definitely going to be, for me, someone mentioned Liverpool sell their academy players for X, Chelsea the same. Mavropanos at least should be 8 million, easy in today's market, age-wise as well.
I think it's one of those that if Stuttgart stay up, then they buy Mavropanos for 5 million. But they'd probably end up flipping him and make 10 million off that deal. We've seen it with other players. I think it was Morata's deal to Chelsea. Real Madrid ended up just paying their buyback from Juventus, then selling him for an extra 10 million on top. So I think there's there's definitely opportunities there for him to be sold for a higher price. It just depends on which team is going to be the one that takes the it's going to be the team that takes advantage of that situation. Some way or another, Mavropanos is going for 15 million in the summer. It just depends on which team's selling him.
For sure. Okay, we will talk a little bit more about some of these other players with Josh on the next episode of Tactical Squad. You can follow Josh at Josh the Human 23. We are going to wrap things up here in a second, but of course we're not going to wrap them up until we give you our predictions for the game this weekend. Josh, what say you? Watford versus the Arsenal. Score prediction, please.
Score prediction. I'm going to go with a 2-0.
2-0.
Arsenal. To Arsenal. I should be very quick about that. Yeah. 2-0 to Arsenal.
Well done.
Yeah, I don't want to linger on that too much. Just make it clear.
Well done. I talked about Abramovich last night and Tenor, so you can check that show out last night. 2-0 says Matt, 3-0. I'm going to go for a 4-1. I think it's going to be one of those games where we enjoy ourselves. Might be a little tight at the beginning, but once that first goal goes in, I think we'll get very comfortable. We've got game changers on the bench. I think Pepe can come on and have another say. I fancy Laka to get another goal, keep that momentum going. We've got 4-2s, we've got 3-2s, we've got 2-0s, we got 3-0. For a minute there, we're playing away, so Avon's got it. Avon's got it right. 5-0 will create 147 chances, says Mark. So everyone's feeling confident about this weekend. Of course, Watford are in a relegation battle, but they are a pretty bad team. All right, we've got a new auction to announce tomorrow night, and let me just tell you that it involves a certain Benjamin White. And it's a very exciting one too, by the way. And I thought I'd just tease and mention it because I think Josh misses seeing him down at the old Albion, at the old Brighton and Hove Albion.
We never saw him. We never saw him play for Brighton.
At home?
Season. Yeah, never saw him because it was COVID. He played the entire
that's
COVID
right.
season. So Brighton fans never saw Ben White play in the Brighton shirt.
Gosh, oh dear. 300 plus of you in live chat. Please do hit the like button on the way out, especially if you love the Arsenal and you want 3 points this weekend. That is the rule. And if you don't, I'm going to tell Kev. And tomorrow night when he's back for Kev Says, he's going to do a little bit of this. All right? So let's get Vinny out. Hit the like button if you've enjoyed this evening's show and if you love the Gunners. I think that's it for now. We don't have anything else to announce. Don't forget to check out RUTH, BECK art, FRANCESCA stuff we shared yesterday at Scene Sketches, and of course our good friend Nola Gooner. We're going to be putting up some swag on the YouTube channel, and we'll make sure that Taib gets a bit of a discount, and our pricing is going to be so fair, Taib, you'll buy it in the dozens. So lots of new and exciting stuff coming from the Highbury squad. On the 15th of March, we have a very special guest I'd like to announce today. Rebecca Lowe, the host of NBC Premier League Football. And of course, we just saw Rebecca host the Olympics here on the NBC channel too. Will be joining us to talk football with myself and Super Kev. And this evening, Josh, we've given them fish and chips, flip-flops, biscuits, the zoo. I mean, we've given them a little bit of everything once again. How can anyone complain?
Absolutely.
Right?
And yeah, if you've ticked all of those off on your bingo card, someone will be round to check your sheet as well.
Brilliant stuff. We will be back. You can go off and enjoy the second half of the FA Cup now. For those listening on replay, thank you so much. Josh, I gave your handle ABW. What's the, I don't know if it's AFC podcast these days. What is it?
At the AFC podcasts. And it was just Danny and I yesterday. It's very sad at the moment. There's only 2 members of ABW right now because no one is currently available. So it was a very lonely show where Danny and I spent, we were probably on for about an hour and 40 minutes, and we spent 10 minutes covering Arsenal football. It was one of those shows.
Well, we have something special coming up with Danny, by the way, which is going to be hilarious. Okay.
He told me post-show that there's something going on. So,
we're brewing, we're cooking.
Listeners, get ready. Hold on to your seats. It's going to be something special.
Absolutely. Right, Josh, thanks, mate. Have a good one. Enjoy. And we will see you, squaddies, tomorrow night where Super Kev returns for Kevin Says. Until then, at ease. Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.